iPhone is, unfortunately, Android users, the best phone for video and photo combined. You can shoot in log, they have new apps out, all the rest of it. And it's even good at stabilization. It's actually better at stabilization than the camera that we're using right now. But here's the thing, it can always get better. And this Hohem gimbal has just launched. So we're here today at the Haynes Breakfast Club. I've got my friend with me, Connor, linked to him in the video description. And we're just gonna film a load of cars, see what we can get away with. I'm gonna do some running shots with this thing. I'm gonna shoot it all in log and then color correct it afterwards. And hopefully you guys can see how good it is. Never reviewed a gimbal before, so especially one for a phone. So let's see how much better or worse it is than my DJI RS3.
So I guess it's probably time we talk about the specs of this thing. This is the Hohem iSteady V3. It's got some things I like, and one thing I don't like, but we'll get onto that later. The website says it's great for outdoor travel, daily vlogging, live streaming, social media creation, and fitness recording. And I'm probably inclined to agree. The built-in tripod is actually quite useful, especially if you want to set up or use it in the gym. Same goes with the detachable remote control, which acts as the main control when it's attached to the gimbal. The built-in extension rod adds about a foot, maybe a foot and a half to the overall length of the gimbal. And the magnetic AI tracker can be switched in various positions. So if you want the phone's main camera to track you, it's as simple as flipping it around. The AI tracker also has a fill light in it, which has 3 color temperature filters on it. You can have a warm light at 2700 Kelvin, a neutral light at 5000 Kelvin, and a cool light at 6500 Kelvin. You can also use the remote control to control it as well. The tracking, as far as I can see, only works on human subjects. You can do customized composition, something I totally forgot to do, but you can see here in this demonstration video. Now, this is a 3-axis gimbal, which means it's not going to be as stable or as refined as something like a DJI RS3 4 or DJI RS3 Mini, but of course, the nice thing about this is it doesn't need to be. Most phones these days have actually better stabilization than most cameras. The iPhone one in particular is absolutely fantastic. So combining these two things together, you can really get some incredible results. The gesture controls, and these are only a few of them, make a pretty welcome addition. You can start AI tracking, stop AI tracking, you can change from landscape to portrait, and you can change the shutter control if you're using the app. I didn't really want to get into the app, as I much prefer using Apple's new Final Cut camera system or shooting in log, which, at the moment, the app doesn't allow. So we're just going to talk about the gimbal on its own merits. It is portable enough to fit into your pocket, and it's got small grooves in it to ensure that it never sort of rattles around. The battery life is stated at 13 hours. This had a third of its battery left and lasted about 3 hours, but with admittedly a very heavy phone attached, so I can believe that 13-hour runtime is probably pretty close. You get to choice between black or white, and it's got a pretty ergonomical design as well. At the bottom, you'll find a 1/4 inch 20 screw hole, which you can add other things onto if you want to add potentially a bit of a more stable tripod to the bottom of it. The weight is 420 grams, and the AI tracker is about 13-14 grams itself. The website says it's made of a high-performance composite material. What of course that means is that it's made out of plastic, but it's pretty sturdy plastic. It can take a payload of 300 grams, which means that most phones are going to be able to go in it. It also tells us that the charging time is about 2.5 hours, although I found that you can pretty much get a full day out of it after an hour and a half's worth of charging. As far as I can see, this is actually a better system than using the DJI Osmo Mobile. I've got the Mobile 5, and I believe the Mobile 6 uses the same system, where you have to attach a magnet to the back of the phone. This is cumbersome. It means you have to take off your case if you're using a case, or cage if you're using a cage, and of course this means that it could indeed get lost. Stabilization results are roughly the same with these two gimbals. Well, certainly between the 5 and this anyway. I haven't got the 6 currently. But the nice thing is, with this grip system, you can actually keep the case on, which I didn't realize until after I got back and started playing around with it a little bit more. But you can do that if you want to. This makes using the gimbal a no-brainer. There's no real setup time, it's just clip it in and away you go. My only other wish list is that the AI tracker would be able to track other things other than people, tracking cars or houses. You could actually use this in conjunction with something like the iPhone's equivalent 13mm ultra-wide camera to be able to do some quick stuff for real estate, and of course, being able to do car stuff as well would be really helpful, and I'd give it a 100% recommendation. If you're the kind of person who wants to be a one-man band, this, with the remote control and the built-in tripod, is probably going to be the gimbal for you. The only major problem I personally really have with it is that, and this is, again, a kind of problem with most 3-axis gimbals, I had to lean my wrist a little bit more so that I didn't reach the edge of the gimbal mobility. This is obviously something on a 4-axis, 5-axis gimbal you'd never have a problem with, but I thought it worth mentioning here, because it will, if you are used to a 4-5-axis gimbal, it might take some learning, but once you're there, you're there. In reality, what this means is that the phone will dip slightly away from the horizon level, and you have to move your wrists and then recenter it. And like I said, after probably a day of shooting, you'd get used to it. Okay, so let's talk about the mighty performance of this, because it is honestly really rather good. This is me running. I know, it seems mad, right? Yeah. All right, let's try it running, see how good it can do it. Oh, yeah. Oh, dude, that's insane. But I am running, and there is no post-stabilization going on here whatsoever. It's all through the camera stabilization, or in this case, the phone stabilization, and the gimbal. The only thing I've done is Rec 709'd it with Apple's LUT log profile. Here is a nice, slow pull-out shot. Very lovely indeed. Here's a pan where I'm attempting to be really stable. Again, none of these have stabilization added to it. By triple tapping the M button, you can also enable a 180 mode on the camera, which means you can get cool stuff like this. Here's one I'm particularly proud of. This is on the 5x zoom on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And again, no stabilization. Unfortunately, I didn't shoot any vertical, but there's no reason to believe it wouldn't look just as good in vertical either. Another thing, much like the DJI gimbals, is that you can actually turn the head of the gimbal so you can hold it in a briefcase-style position. This also gives your wrists a little bit of a rest as well. I could keep going on about features and some more stuff, but to be honest with you, you've probably already made your mind up by looking at some of these clips, because let's face it, 90% of people who want to buy a gimbal want much more stable footage, and that's what this offers. Don't forget to follow Connor, leave a like for me, and a subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And if you haven't checked it out already, check out my A6700 video where you can rig it out for less than $500. Thank you for watching.